So I think it probably was about 4 weeks ago, almost to the day that we spoke, and it feels like a lifetime ago,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, well, thanks for coming on today, and thanks for speaking about Homes for Good. First question, I guess, is just what is Homes for Good and why is it needed?
Yeah. So I suppose, I mean, Homes for Good it started off as one thing and it's evolved into another. But in brief, I mean, we started off as a letting agency and being the first letting agency in the country to be a social enterprise. But as it's evolved, as the business has evolved, we're essentially four things. We are a letting agency. We've got our own property development and company and investment portfolio now, where we've got around about 250 homes. We've got a tenancy support team, which is obviously super busy just now, and we've also got an in-house repairs and maintenance function. And I suppose we were needed in the first instance because I could see as a landlord that the private rented sector wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. There's over 500,000 people in Scotland that live in privately rented homes, and as a landlord I wasn't happy with the service I was getting from letting agents. But I could also see that people in sort of limited choice and people in low incomes and people that were maybe struggling to access housing were getting a particularly raw deal in the private rented sector. And I suppose I decided that was one, something I wanted to change, two, I could see a business opportunity, and three, there was also a viable business model from the outset. So all of those ingredients suggested that I should just have a go, really.
Okay, fantastic. And obviously we're going through the word unprecedented has been used quite a lot. 4 weeks ago, we were speaking about the kind of I guess just the rapid changes that were happening within the sector with COVID-19. I guess if you can just speak about the trading income from customers and how that's kind of being affected by these rapid changes.
Yeah. I suppose the first thing from a general social enterprise perspective, I think what's interesting is that some of the businesses that are the most entrepreneurial and have got the highest trading incomes are the ones that have been disproportionately impacted by the income drying up very suddenly, which is counterintuitive to everything we've learned about social enterprise over the years.
Sure.
From our point of view, rental income is the lifeblood of the whole business. Is the letting agency fees, so part of the rental income pays the letting agency fees. Rental income is what we use to pay our mortgages and to repay our investors. It's the income that goes to our landlords, and it's also the income that the repairs and maintenance and all the compliance that we do in properties is ultimately comes from that rental income. So I suppose what's happened with us are a couple of things. Because the property market has essentially sort of frozen and ground to halt, we've now got 8% of our properties are void, that are empty, and they were either in mid-renovation or they were on the market to be let, and there are only a number of circumstances where people can actually move. So normally there would always be a percentage of our properties that were empty, but that percentage is now starting to creep up because we can't actually fill them, if you know what I mean. So
you're not able to.
So there's been a loss in rental income and in fee income from that perspective. But the other side of it is 55% of our tenancies are at risk. So essentially it's about half of our rental income is technically at risk because the people who live in our properties have either lost their jobs, they're on furlough, or their jobs are insecure. So I'm not saying we've lost 55% of or 50% of our rental income overnight, but it's at risk. So we've got to factor all of that in terms of how we operate and trade out of it.
And I guess as a leader going through this this kind of situation, it's pretty stressful. It's quite tough, or it can be. Certainly, that's what a lot of people have been saying. Do you have any kind of tips as a leader for how you've kind of got yourself through this period, and what are your tips or your approach to what is your approach ahead?
Yeah. I mean, I suppose so. The thing that I think I mentioned this to you when we spoke last week, the thing that I realised, which has served me well in the last few weeks, is that I really thrive on the shit hitting the fan. I've internalised that, and I'm good at going, okay, what needs to happen? So I think though that having an ability or training yourself or learning to have the ability to scenario plan and to very quickly home in on what the business risks are and just go to the worst case scenario, look at that and stare it in the face and go, what does that mean for us? Is the first thing that I think we have to do as leaders, is just go to where what the worst case scenario could be and work back. I think in terms of sort of taking care, being a leader of any business, or being a leader full stop, is difficult at the best of times. And at the minute, as a leader of a social business, I feel that you're leading everybody. Everybody is looking to you for the answer in relation to your business. So you're leading your board quite often, because they're dipping in and out, and they're looking to you for what, they want to help and advise you, but you need to tell them what's going on. Your team are looking for your guidance, and also your clients, your customers. You need to show leadership and be proactive with them, and all of your stakeholders. So you're actually in the middle of this, lots of different people who all need to know that everything's okay or what is going on. And I think, from my point of view, I think the first thing I would say that we have to do is to take care of ourselves as human beings. That's the number one thing, to not forget that we're also human beings. So it is all the stuff that we're seeing all the time, about making sure we're trying to sleep well, trying to eat well, getting exercise. And I think those basic sort of physiological things are really, really super important. I would say the second thing is to find whatever flow works for you personally in this current environment. So I feel as if my personality has completely changed at the minute, because I'm getting up at the same time every day. I get up, get dressed, get ready for work at 7 o'clock in the morning, and which I would never have done before. And I have quite a rigid routine, which I also never did before. But it's working really well for me to just structure my day. So things like that. I think a really important thing is to connect with your peers. So maybe doing things like this, or the social leaders. There's a social leaders club. A chap called Craig down in, I can't remember his. Craig Dearden Dodd, something like that. That he runs is brilliant, and he does a Friday call for just social enterprise leaders, a space where you can just go, what have you done this week, or how do you deal with that? Somewhere that it's people that are in the same boat. And I think the other thing I would say, two other things I would say is be confident in what you don't know. Be confident, and don't feel that if you're feeling out of your depth, well, we're all feeling out of our depth just now, so be confident about what you don't know and being able to articulate that, and also being human. So I'm doing a lot of work with my team around self-care and the sort of mental health support we're putting in, and I shared with my team last week that I had to just have a duvet day. We've got a sort of one text duvet day that we call it. So if somebody's not feeling that they can face it that day, they just text, I'm having a duvet day, and that's, I did that last Thursday because I just went, God, I don't know where to start. So the fact that, I'm sharing that with my team, not to the point where they don't feel safe, but to the point that they understand that we're all going through a similar thing.
You're human.
And then I think, and then the important thing is probably, my colleague Karen Lynch, who's on our board, who's a dear friend as well, talks about getting ready and then getting through. I think we're sort of, getting through and getting ready, the wrong way around. I think that we have spent the last few weeks trying to get through and understand what we're dealing with. And as leaders, we have to step out and get into the big picture, because this is going to pass and we need to be ready for what happens next.
And it's kind of that realisation, isn't it? Realisation even that whereas 4 weeks ago when we spoke, we didn't know how long it was going to last. It kind of just seemed like an overnight sort of thing, and it was a shock. Whereas now it kind of feels like a new normal is kind of setting in. What do you think the longer term impacts of COVID might be? Some people, you're saying like at the moment, the way you're dealing with it, there are structures in your day that you maybe didn't have before, certain structures. There might be longer term impacts to, I guess, the social enterprise sector, to society, to people. What do you think there might be kind of positive and negatives?
Well, I mean, I think in terms of to society, only time will tell. I mean, I think we're all living in a trauma just now. We're all in shock. We're all in shock. So, you know, there are some people saying it's not political. We can't. Now's not the time to call the politicians to account. And there's other people that are screaming it bloody well is time to call the politicians to account. But actually, it feels like we're all living through a war or living through a scenario where we're all going to creep out of it at the other end. I really hope that as a society we'll all be kinder. I think we were going that way already, so I really, really hope that all of the best things that come out of what's been going on stay. In terms of from a business, the positives are really depends on your business. There's a threat to somebody is an opportunity to somebody else, and you know, I can only talk for our business. There will be opportunity for Homes for Good. Of this. There's risk to us from and this is in the property market now, there is definitely risk. But there's also a number of things that are creating opportunity in the way that the market is shifting. I think the biggest positive for me, and this is me speaking to somebody who's now over 50, is just the way it bulldozed us into using tech. Bulldozed us into, it just forced us to go and do stuff like this. I think we'll carry on doing a lot more stuff like this. I was never on Zoom up until 6 weeks ago. I'd never used it, and now I'm never off it. And I'm thinking, why did we not use this for lots of other things? So I think there's positives like that. I think that we're all going to be, as employers, far more receptive to people working from home. So that there'll be things. I mean, the negatives that I'm really worried about. Those are three things. There's clearly going to be significant economic impact that we can all see coming, but we don't know exactly how it's going to feel because we've never lived it. I am actually worried that although I'm saying I hope that the kindness stays, I'm worried that we're all going to be less touchy. You know, I like giving my pals and my colleagues cuddles and all sorts of things. We're all going to just get used to not doing that, and I'm a wee bit worried about that. The thing I'm most worried about are the mental health impacts of this. And once we all get out of the other end of it, how we all react to that. Some of us will be resilient and be fine, and other people I think will be really quite challenged. I'm already seeing, you know, in terms of my colleagues and our tenants and landlords and the people we deal with, I'm seeing the strain starting to show. So I'm really worried about how we all look after each other in that regard as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the kind of one of the things that a lot of people are thinking about, as you said, actually coming out of it. How long will that take, and actually how will it kind of affect us in terms of how we interact with people, or even like, you know, simple things like taking public transport, buying a magazine. You know, there's lots of potential longer term impacts.
The other thing, just quickly, that I've seen a real difference in, and it'll be dead interesting to see how the behaviours go back the way, is that I was so heartened by the response of grant funders in the early weeks. I mean, that was brilliant, and actually that saved our bacon, and it saved a lot of people's bacon, I would think, where your grant funders immediately came out and said, you know what, we trust you. Use the money in the best way you can to get through and to deliver services for your people, and just let us know whenever you can how you're getting on. And there was that whole, and there's been quite a lot of narrative around why the funds need to be, if you trust us now, why can unrestricted funding, you know, the call for that. So I think it will be difficult for funders to go back to being as rigid. I hope that they won't. I hope they'll see that actually when we're all under pressure and you just have to let people do the right thing, that actually the vast majority of us will do the right thing and spend the money well, and we can judge that for ourselves. So I hope that that's a change that comes out as well.
Absolutely, it's been really refreshing to see that, and almost, I guess, to, like you said, to kind of trust and to work with the organisation to work towards the business plan and their own goals rather than, I guess, a set of KPIs. So in terms of, I mean, the model itself of Homes for Good, it's a unique model. It's the first social enterprise letting agency in Scotland, if not in the UK. In terms of the actual model, has there been business kind of resilience built into Homes for Good, and has that kind of served you, would you say, through to, I guess, weathering the storm this far?
Yeah, definitely. And I think I only realised that when I listened to how other people were handling things. Just, you know, we all just work in our own little bubbles and do what we think is right. and then it's really what else is going on. So I suppose, you know, in terms of how we were originally set up and then how we are set up now, I mean, I suppose I've talked a little bit about the finances. Generally, our cash flow, you know, we've got more or less a break-even business model. We don't make a lot of profit, but we don't lose a lot of money. It's break-even. And up until now, our cash flow has been quite straightforward because rental income comes in every day. So, so that you know, that is still happening. Although the challenge now is the loss of rental income. But in terms of how we were set up to operate, we were already we equipped ourselves for remote working without realising we were. It just was an instant from the beginning. So, you know, every member of the team gets a laptop and an iPhone on their first day, and all of our property management software and all of our information, all of our financial stuff is on the drive, you know, is in the cloud rather, and it's backed up. We were able to go to remote working immediately with no business interruption at all. Obviously, that we've got to access keys for houses and things like that, and we've been managing to do that. And I think, I mean, the other thing that we did was we moved quicker. So we went to remote working on the 12th of March. And although, I mean, I'm still saying this now with a badge of pride, but it was 10 days before lockdown. And just even having that few days ahead has made us feel that we're just slightly ahead. We took control of it rather than waiting to see what was going on. I think you guys probably did the same. We just went, right, let's just go. The other thing that we did was my colleagues, my senior team and myself, we sat down on the 11th of March and mapped out. We took 4 hours and just mapped out what are all the things that could happen that we can see at the moment. What are all the consequences? What are all the things that we're going to have to really keep an eye on? And we created what we call the COVID tracker. So we've got a massive, I mean, it's the most beautiful thing. It's a massive spreadsheet which has got our whole portfolio and everything we need to know about the tenants, the landlords, whether the tenants have lost their jobs, what date their rent's due, whether they've got symptoms of COVID, whether they need food, do we know who their next of kin is, when was the last time we spoke to them, do they need increased tenancy support, all of that. We designed all of that. We spent 2 weeks convincing and working with our staff and all our colleagues to populate that. And that is updated on a real-time basis all the time. And I measure all the key points every 2 days, so we can track the trends of what's going on in the business. We can home in on, right, how many people do we need to get food to this week? What's happening with rent arrears? How are they keeping up? So it's a report. It's a fast reporting tool to the team, but also to our board and to our banks as well. So it's given us all a sense that we know what's going on as this all evolves. And then I suppose what we've done is we've formalised our communications. I know that everybody will have done this, but we've got a daily hour every morning. I have with the senior team. I do an hour at 8:30. Then we have our team round up on a Friday at 3. We do Friday Fizz at 4, which is all sorts of unbelievable nonsense that the team come out with. It was really good fun. And then we've also taken full advantage of using Zoom, and we've got a training calendar. So we're doing quite a lot of how we work together as teams and just different training and things as well. So, you know, it does feel to us like we're managing this fairly well. I'm not feeling unsafe. And I think we are with it, and it feels that we can see we are reading the road ahead as much as we can, and it feels okay.
And there must have been times, I mean, when you were at the start speaking to your staff team about working from home early, speaking to your board about some of these measures and whatever else. As a leader making those kind of calls, did you ever kind of have like moments of thinking, is this the right thing to do? Is it not the right thing to do? How were you kind of supported, would you say, by your team and your board at that time?
So I didn't have any doubt that it was the right thing to do. What we were doing. My challenge was getting other people on board as quickly. And I think the other challenge that I found, and I don't know if any of my colleagues are on the call, they'll shout in and go, yeah, she was rubbish at it or she was great at it. But our way of working, as you probably know from knowing me, is quite informal. It's quite collaborative. You know, the office is quite easygoing. We're up for a laugh. You know, if I want something done, people will mull it over for a couple of years and then they might do it, and I let them, you know, I let that happen. Not quite a couple of years, but you know what I mean.
No, I don't think so soon.
I switched right into command and control very quickly, and that
Yeah.
was one, not my natural way, so I found that quite uncomfortable, but I knew it had to happen, and it took everyone a wee bit of time to get used to that. So there's been a wee bit of, you know, wee bit of jarry conversations along the way where I was saying, this needs to happen today, it can't happen next week, it needs to happen now. But we've done a lot of work on how we, the team and all our behaviours and why we react. I mean, we analyse each other to death, which is brilliant because it then lets folks see why, you know, it just lets us understand how we work. I think with my boards, so we've got a number of people on the different boards of the companies. I've just been communicating and updating them and just been very as proactive as I can be about, this is what I think you need to know.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it in a Zoom call and we'll get the notes to you when we get time to type them up. So I think it's the key thing is just been communicating that we're safe. I've asked them for advice, they've given me advice, so it's felt okay. I think, just going back to what I was saying at the beginning, I've not felt, I mean, there are times, I think I was saying to you, like last week, I just thought, I don't know where to even start. And it was when our investors and different partners were creeping in going, have you done that reporting yet? Or, you know, we've got 4 new investors that have approached us to invest in the next stage of our growth, and I'm sort of going, God, how do I respond to them? So there have been points where I felt quite overwhelmed, but I think you just have to reset and you do your to-do lists. Tomorrow's another day. There was somebody famous said that in a film, was there not?
I think so. I think it might have been, yeah. Maybe John Wayne.
And you just have to go, yeah, okay, so today is, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I just need to focus and it'll be better tomorrow. So it's felt all right. It's
felt good. And you've had the systems in place. So your COVID tracker, is that an Excel spreadsheet or is there specific?
It's an Excel spreadsheet with filters and all sorts of special formulas. We've got a secret weapon because our Director of Operations husband is an absolute whiz at Excel, so we've designed it to as far as we could, and then he comes in and does the clever stuff. But yeah, no, it is, and it's actually something, it was something that I've been trying to get done in the business that the team had told me couldn't be done, but we've managed to do it in an emergency. So a version of it will absolutely be remaining. It's really, really good IP actually that we've created in terms of how we manage and at a glance view of the operations of the business. So we will be retaining it going forward.
That's really interesting. A lot of social entrepreneurs I've been speaking to have been saying that some things they've maybe had on the back burner for a bit, or some innovative ideas which kind of seemed that they would be in the future, actually they've brought forward, or things that kind of they've always wanted, they've brought forward because they've had the space to do it, or it's just been more urgent, so priorities have changed. Have you, within the sector and some of the peers you've spoken to, you've mentioned some of these peer groups, is there any kind of sense of is there any kind of sense of that you've picked up in the sector, of people kind of thinking, okay, so I've been wanting to do this for a while, I've had this idea, we're working differently? I'm guessing, you know, obviously it's a broad question, different leaders will respond in a different way.
I think, well, so I think there's 2 things. I mean, certainly from our point of view, I mean, next week, I keep saying this, next week, and we need to get to it, we're not getting to it, but we're going to do a number of sessions with the team around the future of Homes for Good, looking at the different functions, the 4 different functions in the business, and say, how are we going to do this differently? Given that we're managing to survive now, what should we be doing differently? Things like our tenant engagement work, which was quite nice to have. We've accelerated that because our tenants are all board stiff and isolated. So we're you know, you'll see on our Facebook page that all of that stuff has started to increase. I think that there are people that are really struggling. It depends on the business model, but the other thing that's happening is that we're all taking the opportunity to get things through faster that we've been trying to get through for a while. You know, like the COVID tracker, I'm not letting that go. I've been trying, you know, so there is, and I think in an urgent situation, you've got to make fast decisions. That's the thing that I love, because my sort of, one of my key strengths, or maybe it's a weakness, but I see it as a strength, is impatience and getting things done fast. So I now have got the perfect environment to get things done fast. So I'm going to just try and keep that going. So I think I've heard other leaders talk in that way, that they're managing to get things through that they wanted to try, and that they are, the things that they've now had to try out of necessity, they're realising are quite a cool way of working, and they're not going to let it go when things go back to normal.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And with within the team, do you think we've been speaking a lot in the organisation about what the new normal might be and what the new normal might look like? We don't know what it is, but we're planning ahead for that as well. And our mutual friend Rachel as well, we're having a lot of conversations about that. Do you think everyone's kind of, or most of the people are kind of on your board, in the team, that things will be different? We won't go back to our normal, or maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we can do things better in society, in social business, that type of thing. I guess my question is, like, do you think, people have like kind of realised that actually it's not a short-term thing. There is a new normal. There is a kind of like new way we're going to work.
I think that my colleagues and the board, I think in the same way that we were talking at the beginning about, when you're a leader, you're sort of at the centre of it and you have to navigate and manage all your stakeholders. Mm-hmm. Nobody really knows what the new normal is going to be. None of us know. All we can do, and one of the other things that I like to do, and that again, has been identified as one of my strengths, is trying to look ahead and create what we think the future might be, and just create the scenarios and imagine that. So I think that my role is to just anticipate as far ahead as I can what we, and get the team involved. I don't think that, there's people in my team that do not look past tomorrow, but they're brilliant at detail in today. Is help them look into the future. We will have to do some things differently, but at the end of the day, we're lucky because our business is a basic human need, which is homes. People are still going to need homes, and we're still going to need to look after them. So I don't see our business model changing massively because of what we do. It's a very basic function that we're all still going to need at the other end of it. But we just need to see it. It's about keeping an eye on the future and just being willing to just redesign and reshape every 2 minutes, I think.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things we've been speaking about, I guess, as an organisation and some of my kind of colleagues in the sector as well, is that actually the private sector potentially are looking more and more to the social business sector, and perhaps it's the other way about, where actually the sector that you've always influenced maybe will be looking more at kind of social models and thinking, right, how do we act differently? How are we different? Which is a positive thing for society. As well. So we've got a couple of minutes left. There's a question that's come through about, it's very specific. Can we get the name and number of your guru tracker? I'm not sure if you could outsource the Excel guru person that's come up with your tracker. Probably not. We'll make a note of that one.
It was actually myself and our ops director that designed it. The Excel person's it was us that designed it. So we are taking full credit for the beauty of that.
Sure.
That spreadsheet, but it was somebody who was skilled at Excel that was able to join link cells and link worksheets and things.
Fantastic. So
we might be open to negotiation on some
work.
Yeah, you never know. That might
maybe
be
a white label version of your guru tracker, perhaps. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Susan, for your time. This was actually your idea, in conversation with me, to have this series of stories with social entrepreneurs, and just to have a space, I guess, to talk about how strange this time is, but how we can all take benefit, take some kind of comfort on the benefits of having some time to think, to reposition our organisations. So thank you very much. It's been great speaking to you.
And all I would say is that if people are on the call and they want to have a chat, about anything that's come up, to just contact me directly. I'm very easy to find with a surname like mine. And what's helped me hugely over the years and now is critical friends that I can pick up the phone and just talk to them for 5 or 10 minutes about a specific thing. So I'm really happy to do that. If there's anything that anybody that's listening or anybody else that sees it thinks it would be of benefit, they can just get in touch. It's no problem. And I think we've all got a bit more time for each other at the minute, so it's a good time to do it.
I think that's brilliant, and I think that, you know, we are hopefully being a bit kinder, and it is so important that you can be open to sharing experience and be human to other people. So, well, thank you very much, Susan. That's great. And if people want to get in touch, they can also come through us as